Number 10. Warrant. Warrants can pretty comfortably be filed into the category of bands that are almost like a caricature of themselves.
She's my cherry pie. Cool drink of water, such a sweet surprise.
The excess of the 1980s is very much at the center of everything they do. And if you don't like your music delivered with a huge side serving of innuendos, this band will not be for you.
Looks so good, bring a tear to your eye. Sweet cherry pie.
They wanted their listeners to know exactly what type of lifestyle they led, which, for a time, was fine. But as the times changed, people started to find Warrant's gimmick more and more off-putting. A classic example of a band that could only have existed in the 80s. Number 9. Tesla. Tesla certainly would have liked to single themselves out from their peers, but even their blues-tinged take on glam metal wasn't enough to save them. Their haters would be quick to lump them in with any other old band from the era. In reality, their biggest crime is a simple one. They didn't really do enough to stand out. Any conversation about 1980s bands that haven't aged well is going to start with some bigger names. But eventually, Tesla's music will get a mention too. They leaned on familiar rock and roll tropes a little too much, and people seemed to simply get bored after a while. Number 8. U2. U2 spent many years as one of the biggest bands in the world, but it never truly got any better for them in terms of commercial and critical acclaim than the 80s.
See the stone set in your eyes.
Through albums like Boy, The Joshua Tree, and Achtung Baby, Bono and the boys redefined the sound of rock music, but the over-the-top persona of their frontman definitely hindered them over the years. People really don't seem to like Bono, seeing him as incredibly pretentious and self-righteous. Sure, the songs have stood the test of time for the most part, but it can be difficult to even mention U2 without immediately hearing someone complain about their image, attitude, or just the guy out front. Number 7. Mötley Crüe. Was there a band that embodied the debauchery of 1980s hair metal quite like Mötley Crüe? These guys didn't earn their reputation by accident either. No, they actively wanted every last drop of notoriety they could get, so they tended to act as outrageously as possible. Their songs, by today's standards, could be considered sleazy as can be, but at their core, these guys are provocateurs. The fact that they seem to commercialize controversy earned them quite a lot of money in the 80s, but it also helped to make them almost unpalatable when the decade finally came to its end. Number 6. Spandau Ballet. The new romantic era certainly was not for everyone.
So true, funny how it seems.
Bands like Spandau Ballet burst onto the scene with their super suave style and made it very clear that the 80s were going to be different from the 70s.
I know this much is true.
They scored a few enduring hits with songs like Gold and True, but it's easy to see why many have dismissed them as artificial sounding or shallow. The mission statement of the band was clear: look cool and lean into melodrama. But for as much as they had their loyal fans, their approach to synth pop was bound to leave more than a few people totally unimpressed. Number 5. Foreigner. Fans of ultra-polished anthemic stadium rock probably enjoy Foreigner just as much as any of their contemporaries.
You're not shy, you get around.
But to many music purists, their incredibly safe approach to music just doesn't cut the mustard.
It gets urgent, so urgent.
Everyone loves a good hook, but Foreigner have been accused of writing music that leans far too heavily into the over-dramatic side of things.
But the day life goes on.
Hit singles like I Wanna Know What Love Is are about as 80s as it gets. And if you left that decade trying to move on from that kind of thing, chances are you're not a Foreigner fan.
I wanna know what love is.
Number 4. Guns N' Roses. No one can deny that Guns N' Roses have talent and that their early albums proved that beyond a shadow of a doubt. But people certainly became tired of Axl Rose's egocentric behavior. The lack of end product from that point onwards didn't help. Showing up late to gigs, several public feuds, and an extremely long wait for the disappointing Chinese Democracy changed many fans' opinions of GNR. The songs themselves are legendary, but it seemed as though the band, and Rose in particular, let their egos define them way too much. A great band for sure, but one that did themselves no favors. Number 3. Poison. Excess was at the core of everything that a lot of 80s bands stood for. Poison were not unique in that sense, but boy, did they push things to the limit. Their stage shows, music videos, costumes, and overall vibe were seen as style over substance. And to their credit, that was what they were gunning for. But Poison's haters would be quick to point out that the music, while sometimes fun, was incredibly formulaic and a little bland when you start to peel back the layers. When the grunge era of the 1990s landed, bands like Poison were constantly pointed to as a prime example of why music needed bands like Nirvana and Pearl Jam. Number 2. Kiss. Kiss were a party rock band with a capital P, scoring plenty of big selling hits throughout the 70s and 80s. But for every person who was enthralled by their theatrical edge, fun, and catchy hooks, there was another who considered them cheap and gimmicky. Kiss were definitely not reinventing the wheel with their music, but many of their detractors believe that their makeup is by far and away the most interesting thing about them. Strip it away, and you're just left with generic 80s filler. Oh. And it doesn't help that Gene Simmons has a reputation for being a bit of a pain. Number 1. Starship. Starship is one of those bands that you either love or hate.
Say you don't know me, I recognize my face.
But if their brand of extremely slick, corporatized stadium rock isn't for you, you are likely to absolutely despise them. Songs like We Built This City and Nothing's Gonna Stop Us Now might have been smash hits, but they most certainly split people right down the middle.
We built this city on rock and roll.
In fact, they are often cited as one of the prime examples of bad 80s music. To this day, they've retained a very special position in the pantheon of bands from that era, as a group whose music has aged like milk to a lot of people. What 80s bands can't help but get under your skin? Let us know in the comments below.